packet. Any comments, changes, additions? Motion to accept the minutes?
Motion.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor? Aye, please.
Aye.
Who said,
Opposed?
who, I'm doing the minutes right now. Okay. Oh, you're getting it, Amy, because for Irene? Okay, good.
Okay. And Cheyenne, if you give the student government update?
Yes, definitely. Okay, so I'll jump around a little bit. Not that I have a lot of things to tell you guys, some great things. But. So the first thing is we had Camp O. So anyone know about Camp Osadachi? The camp with no service, and it really stresses students out, but it's a great time. It's in the Adirondacks. We took 19 students last weekend for a leadership retreat. And a lot of these students were new and becoming leaders, so we were really happy to shape that passion in them. Excuse me. And so that was really good. We've had Peace of the Presidents twice this semester, which have had a great turnout. We've had great concerns, ideas, new initiatives that students would like to see on campus, and I actually have some notes from that. I can go over that with you guys. I have a screenshot, which is, yeah. Well, I'll continue after that. So, and then one thing that I want to really tell you guys is we're doing a Thanksgiving program. So on Thanksgiving, I'm running a Thanksgiving program in Meeting Hall that students could come to and have Thanksgiving dinner if they're not going home. And that could be a variation of reasons why they're not going home. But that would really stem from a resolution that was passed through student government. It was called Homelessness Among Students. So we wanted to provide students free housing over breaks because of either homelessness, housing insecurity, or being in foster care. And so Dr. Ann Hopkins Gross has been feverly working on this with me, and she's actually creating a partnership with Foundation and Advancement, one of those two, for a fund of money for students to tap into so they can stay here on campus. And while the stay here on campus is pretty low, it's really cheap. It's $10 a day, and that's unheard of. So thanks for Dr. Ann for doing that. It's still a struggle for students for winter break that may not have a safe home to go home to, which would impact their academic health because they're going to come back and they're set back. So student government passed a resolution. We're seeing fruition from that, which is awesome under Dr. Ann's leadership. Then we have, so that's why we have the Thanksgiving dinner, which is also another added on to that, to make the students feel safe here and to make them want to stay here. I gave you guys some initiative last time about the recycling bins. That has been moving forward with facilities, so thank you, Bonnie. We are in the process of pricing out some different ones that we would like to buy. We have 10 different locations right now. They're expensive, super expensive. But the students are giving money with facilities in a partnership to purchase these for the first round and then continue to grow with the recycling bins. And they're dual, so recycling bins and the garbage bins. So then litter could be decreased here on campus and the recycling component could be implemented. Then we had a resolution passed about the faculty evaluation. Students, are advocating to have them mandatory here on campus. The resolution was passed, and I'm still in conversation with some key leaders on campus to move that forward and still advocate for that. And I think that's it. Do you have any questions?
But I say good work.
Thank you.
I think that's very important what you're doing.
Thank you. And honestly, the student government has really grown, and they're really strong this year. Some senators are super go-getters, which just makes my job way easier. So I'm really happy to work with them. But yeah.
I have a question. I think the homelessness among students initiative is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
But you said something along the lines of sending them home may be unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
In healthcare, we deal with that all the time with
Yeah.
patients. As a college, do we have an obligation to look at what the underlying issue is and to make referrals to agencies or whatever? Because suppose the student graduated and it's an unsafe, graduation to home.
Mm-hmm.
Obligation is a really strong word, I would say. We have I would say, an ethos of care of trying to help the student connect to different agencies, but we can't not make decisions based on what's beyond the walls.
Yeah.
And it's a very difficult, if you could hear my voice, it's a very difficult challenge,
Particularly if they're over the age of 18.
Yeah.
right?
But I do think that this school is very good at helping them with kind of, find those resources.
Mhm.
And Wellness and I have been in conversation to extend their hours for counseling so that students could go get counseling right after their, 8 to 4. That's really hard for students. And Wellness was really with this resolution. They actually came to the student government meeting and talked about the mental health component. So I think that we've tried to show students that Wellness is there for them to try to get them the tools, even if they have to go home. I mean, if you go home, they'll help you deal with it. And I've seen that happen with my peers. So I think they're really good at that.
And that's the value of a small college, in the same way of small community.
Yeah.
Very few students they have to work hard to be unknown here,
That's so true.
If you want to be off the radar, good luck.
I'll find a job. But yeah, thank you.
Good.
But also,
That's,
to let you know. Sorry, go on.
it's really wonderful. I think Dr. Terenzio in her report and IMI will touch on mental illness issues.
It was brought up during Pizza with the Presidents too.
Yeah.
And it was something that we looked into. That's why the extended hours for a conversation.
I have a question about the funding to keep the students on campus for Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
or if it's during the January break.
Mhm.
Is there some way that individuals could funnel their contribution toward that? Because you weren't really sure about where the funding was coming
just in the
from.
beginning.
You can always designate specifically where you would like your money to go.
It's $10 a day.
So we have a very, let's say lenient but open gift acceptance policy. Many institutions have minimums to create funds that are pretty high. Say specifically, I want my money to go here, and that would be a very high minimum. You can start very, very low amount. So
Is there a catchword that one would put on the memo of the check?
I think the catchword is contact us and talk to us.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about how to create that fund.
We can do that as a council. That would be a nice thing for all of us to do as a council, I
So,
think.
well, I was going to ask, at the hospital, we started a number of years ago a Helping Hands Fund for employees. I assume we don't have anything as specific as that now,
Yeah.
but would that help?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's great that it's coming. I'm like baffled that it's happening. But I think that it would definitely be a conversation with Dr. Ann and John to really create this fund for college council. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think students would really value that, especially coming from college council, which students don't know much about. So that it would be cool to have that name on there for sure. And it is relatively, low, but if students do get more education on being able to stay here, it would probably add up. But that's why your support would be very, very well needed. Yeah.
Do you have any idea how many students you'll be having contact with, for example, over Thanksgiving?
So Thanksgiving is like out right now since we don't, know the funding right now.
Right.
But
Although, can I chime?
yeah.
Yeah.
We're doing like a soft rollout, so
Yeah.
as we hear, I just talked to Madeline about this.
Okay.
We're gonna take care of the students over Thanksgiving.
It's
We're
something,
gonna do more of a push for
right.
the winter break.
You have to allow for privacy, respect, dignity, so the way it's done, it's being done through Ann's office discreetly. It's just because,
So will there be one dormitory that will be used?
No, we have 4 break buildings.
Yeah.
So we would, if students aren't in that building, we would work to get them in those buildings, which we do all the time anyhow. One more piece.
Yeah.
So with our food insecurity, so if a student is food insecure, what happens is they go see Mike Waxman or Matt Barney, and we're looking at folding this into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So it's a very similar process.
And those 2 staff are like very student oriented. A lot of students would feel safe going to those. So it's not such a public, thing like, okay, if you're scared to go home, come here. It's more of a word to mouth and a safety thing. Because a lot of students will not come forward because they don't know any other way. They don't know like how not to go home. So, but those two faculty are so great at like supporting those students.
And could we, the council ask you and John to get together and kind of draft up a proposal
We
for
happen
some
to be
sort of
meeting today, in
helping
fact.
hands, you know, what are the criteria, what,
Sure,
you know, without being overly burdensome.
absolutely.
And we can bring that back at the next council meeting, see if the council would like to fund that program.
Barb, it's to fund students who want to stay on campus for $10 a day, even though that's cheap. The council wants to take that on.
Great. Do they have to be registered? Do we know that yet?
The students have to be.
Classes?
Well, this is during the semester. We're trying a Thanksgiving one and see how that goes. Yeah, I would imagine they would have to be registered.
Oh yeah, and we weren't talking about summer break. While that's like a good idea, we weren't jumping that
No.
right now. We were thinking of the academic year for their
Right.
success. So
Summer's a
winter-
whole, right.
Yeah, fall break, Thanksgiving, the winter break, spring break, things like that. So not summer,
Mm-mm.
just so you guys know. But thank you for this conversation. I can't wait to tell the exec board. But just so you know, I do have to leave at 9 for my exec board meeting. We're missing our advisors today because they're busy leaders and they're doing busy things, Dr. Ann as well. And I have 2 new officers, so I really need to be there. So if I leave,
Oh.
don't think I'm being rude. I'm running away.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
Yeah.
President's update, Dr. Tanzio.
Well, she's a hard act to follow. The mental health issues, just to continue with that, because SUNY, at the president's meeting, we spent a lot of time talking about it and the change in students and the increase in student mental health, including things like use of drugs that are not prescribed to them, the use of Ritalin and those, 30% uptick in students needing mental health services, and the fragility of our student body across SUNY is being well observed. I feel that we have a very good wellness program here, but we've even noticed the uptick with pretty severe mental illness issues on campus. I don't know if Ann wants to add a little bit to that, but SUNY is also doing a huge mental health workshop system-wide that the chancellor is really asking all campuses to make sure somebody's there to talk about what they see and what we see and where do we go next. Do you want to add anything to that, Ann?
Yeah, I was talking to Lynn and Mary yesterday, and so the last 5 years, their numbers have gone up. I don't have the exact numbers. However, this semester, there's a leveling, and we're down a few students. But what we're seeing is the intensity of the mental health issues coming up are pretty
Severe.
strong.
Yeah.
Significant. Thank you.
Yeah, and we've done the telepsychiatry.
Yeah. Use that.
So it's just a whole different world out there, and how that's going to play out in terms of students' ability to persist. You talk to the faculty, and they'll tell you the same thing, what they see with students who are fragile when they come to you, Barb, and the advisement, particularly during advisement, and the anecdotal, but it's there.
real.
And then also how we're using the behavioral action team. My concern is, how do we assist these wonderful professionals who are there to teach and advise when there's a student in crisis in front of them? How do you help the faculty to know how to move that forward? Some are very good, some would like to be good, but it's just not in their wheelhouse. So the executive council, where we meet with Barb and the faculty, are saying, what else can we do? So we're thinking what else we can do to assist in at least giving some training, and how do we help the faculty with the students. So, Barb, you want to add anything else to that?
Even when I went to my SUNY-wide meeting and talked with the other people within our sector, so
Yeah.
that would be all the other technology colleges, everyone had a story of a student who was in crisis through really no fault of their own, whether it be the pressures of family upon them that have created the mental break, or that they come with persisting medicated and diagnosed behavioral health issues, and then the stresses of college are just overwhelming to them. So
And
self-harm is very, very common.
related to that is we have an exceptional ADA compliance, not just compliance, but ADA office through Wendy Richards and Company, who they do an exceptional job with our students who identify, but they have to identify. What we've noticed, right, Ann, we are seeing some increase in conduct behavior that's related to the student's mental illness, and when we try to, and how we have to handle the parents and talk to them, which is a FERPA privacy thing, it's all getting bollocksed. The parents who have students who, their children who have had IEPs in high school, their advocacy is just very, very high. So when they come to college, they're assuming the same level of intervention from us, and it isn't. So we've had some fantastic conversations with Wendy Richards, who does an exceptional job, and we've been tested a couple times this last week. So what we've decided is Wendy Richards talks to the parents and the students at orientation, but there's an assumption that she makes that now we can't make any more, and that there is a responsibility on the student side to be able to do part of this. They expect us to handhold and bring students along to everything. So we are reviewing how we're going to work with parents, particularly of students who are identified, to say, wait a minute, we've got to talk about what is the responsibility of being a college student, and that it's not like high school. So it's been an interesting, I think, educational experience for us with some pretty severe cases that we're dealing with right now. So I have to give kudos to Anne and the entire staff, from her office through wellness, and Wendy Richards, who really, I know, reports to Sue, but know that we have exceptional staff who are really working on behalf of the student and the institution to navigate this. So
if I may, Bassett is about to implement a project pretty much network-wide. About a year ago, we brought in a company called Diamond, whose specialty is mental health services. They made a recommendation that has been accepted by the network board. We had a kickoff meeting yesterday. The gist of it is, for us, is we will be going ahead to develop an outpatient mental health program at the hospital locally. The program is called a structured outpatient, which supposedly is a level between office-based mental health and inpatient. And beyond that, I don't know what the program actually looks like, but we'll learn more about it.
well, we work with Ellis.
Yeah,
So, and I know that's the program we are now, because I know Bassett couldn't handle
right.
the issues that our students are experiencing. So I don't know, in terms of if students are in crisis, if that's something
Yeah.
that you're going to be offering, because we had a student had to be in a 5-point restraint. That's
not this program.
That's what we're seeing. But if there's other things we could do, that would be. But we're pretty serious stuff that we're dealing with. But if there's things
I'd like
that,
to learn more about that.
yeah, we
I
could.
would too. It'd probably take maybe a year to really get it
Yeah,
up and running.
that'd be
maybe
good.
less.
Right.
And it's supposedly complementary to the now 5 mental health practitioners in the Cobleskill primary care. The difference is
Right.
that's for Bassett
Yeah.
established patients. This
Yeah.
would be available for anybody.
Yeah.
But
Well.
this Diamond company is very innovative, so if it's not anything through our program, they
Yeah.
might be
Yeah.
able to support.
Well, right now
somewhere.
we have Ellis, and we're really, I think right now that's working for
And
us.
they have a really good program.
Yeah, they do, but it would be, as that moves forward, I think talking with Ann and
Yeah.
wellness would be perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Couple other things that are happening, just in terms of college recognition. We did receive a national award for the Institute for Rural Vitality. Actually, I should have brought the, no, it's okay. But it's a huge award that, it's a beautiful statue that is giving us a national platform. On Monday, a person from a national office that's related to rural vitality nationally is coming. We've been chosen as a case study for what's happening with higher education and rural economic development, and they're coming all day to talk to us. And actually, they are going to be talking to a lot of folks in the community as well. So SEEK is on the list, for example.
Good.
What is the role of higher ed and how is that working here? The REDC, the Regional Economic Development Council work is going very well, and SUNY Cobleskill is prominent in that work. We got a phone call from the REDC, Mohawk Valley REDC, to ask what the college would like for governor's initiatives. So we're having a major meeting today to put in some rather bold ideas. Barb, it's particularly some of the things we had already talked about. So with you and...
I'm in class during that.
Okay,
meeting,
okay.
unfortunately, but I'm gonna try to, between this meeting and that meeting, talk to our partners that
Would
we
you?
talked about before.
Perfect.
and get some specifics.
So the work that Barb is doing, the work that K9's doing, Fish and Wildlife, and even what Dr. Iggy's thinking with fermentation. So we think there's something here that it's got to be big, bold, and audacious. So I appreciate what you can bring to the table. So that's going to be, that's today. Some of you may have heard we have a hotel study underway. I believe, though, the report may be done this week, thanks to Kaz, who footed the bill to see whether or not the feasibility for a hotel would be possible. So hang on to your hats. They did talk to a lot of community members. I know we asked them to talk to Tim and Tracy and some other folks. The question will be, can the hotel sustain, can we get between the months of January and February, what would the hotel occupancy look like? And it will be a high-end hotel with a farm-to-table restaurant. So if the feasibility study says yes, we may ask this company to go out and find the person. So somebody said to us, maybe we should run it ourselves, and we're like, yeah, I'm not sure about that. But it's something that we think as a college, talk about rural vitality, somebody had to go there, so we did. And like I said, we footed the bill to see whether or not it's feasible. So we'll find out, and if they say it's feasible, then I think we will be working on getting a hotel here.
And I don't think it gives anything away if I say we're talking about a higher end property, not red roof.
Oh, correct.
I'm sorry, not red roof.
Correct.
Wherever you are.
No, it's got to have, it's, particularly, it was said to us, and John step in too, they want to get one where there's points involved, because people, right, go on and say, where can I use my points?
They need the National Reservation Service.
Yeah,
Really
that's
what we're finding is what's very important. And the points are one aspect of that, but really having that National Reservation Service that you can book, that's really going to help. What they're thinking, what I'm hearing through the grapevine at this point is, Hilton or Marriott type property, obviously not a Conrad or a Waldorf type property. It could sustain itself here, but certainly something very nice. One of the Homewood Suites, Hampton. The New Hamptons are beautiful, actually. That type of thing.
That type, yeah.
That's the 40,000 foot reconnaissance. We'll see once we get down closer to the ground.
So that report to do any day, right?
It's I just checked my email and he said he would have the initial findings today. Stay tuned.
Here on campus.
Can I have, there's no doubt that we need a nice hotel around, because everything has gone under
Okay.
lately, which is another side to this. What is the thinking about why get a hotel on campus?
I think, and it's not just a hotel they're talking about, I think it's a
Right.
hotel, it's conference space,
It's something that we think is the next critical feature for the entire region. We have people coming to us all the time saying, we need a hotel, we need a hotel. When people come to camp,
We've held 2 SUNY conferences here, and Faculty Senate can't bring the people to stay here locally because there are not enough hotel rooms.
Right.
Even when we had the other operations open. And from what we look at when we go out to each of the SUNY campuses, we need a hotel with some conference space. It doesn't have to be grand, just little conference rooms like this. And it needs to have some kind of food or drink within it also
Right.
to really allow those conferences to take place all day.
right. And we've
we had
also,
a wedding, and
yeah.
they all had to stay by CrossFit. Because there's
We also talked
I know
to
that,
Seek.
but-
We also talked to Seek, who is the Schoharie Economic Enterprise, because of the work they're doing. And we met with the executive director, Julie, and I said, "What do you think?" And she said it's critical. It also has a major plan in place. And then she said to me, "Would you start the hospitality program again?" I said, "I don't think so. However, what would be needed is, certificates and intensive programming to help people understand what it means to run a hotel and to put that through." And I said, why don't you make it the SEEK seal of approval, that through our non-credit work at the college, SEEK could say they could find the people, they would certify the people through us, and we would give them the experience, and it would be, if the SEEK seal of approval is on it, these folks are ready to continue to run a hotel or every piece about it. So when SEEK came to us to say, this is really cool, how do we partner with that? So there would be a huge education component, just like we do with Startup New York. And we all are of the mindset it's what the region needs, hence the feasibility study. Now, they may come back to us and say, no go. But somebody besides us and the county, who is an objective person, if we're going to pull somebody in of high quality, had to do the study. So if an outside concern says, yeah, they're going to go make it happen. If they say no, then we're going to have to step back and figure out why. So it's the college's responsibility to do something like this, is how we, and like I said, CAS paid for it, so it didn't come out of state funds. Any more questions or comments on that? The other thing is what's on the horizon. We are moving forward through PACE. Actually, I'm going to get Sue to talk about, I'm going to talk about what we're doing in terms of all of the articulation agreements, particularly with Empire. So I didn't give her a chance to collect her thoughts, but I'm sure it's at the tip of her tongue. But we're also working with Amazon. That is moving forward, and it's an online cloud computing program. We're the only college, I can't believe that's still the case in SUNY, who's offering cloud computing. But Amazon wants to help us build the platform and offer the courses and for free. They would give us a platform for free. So, of course, there's always a catch. The catch is, and I don't really think it's a catch, but they want to get their platform out, and they want companies to use their platform for their business. It's just like Google versus, all the other search engines that were out there. So whoever gets out there first, or in complement with, will have a lot more clients on their base, right? So, for example, we could also do a Google platform, we could do an Amazon platform, we can do them all. So if a student takes a course through the Amazon platform, they're going to go to, when they're out looking for a job or working with a business, they're going to say, I'm Amazon trained. And the businesses are going to say, oh, we're Amazon client. So it's Amazon's way of building their customer base. And in the meantime, we're going to have a partner that we can offer the programs through them.
And it's not an exclusive arrangement?
No.
You could
That's the beauty
work
of
with
it.
Google or whoever?
Correct. So we could be just like that, the seal of approval with all of these. So we're walking through it together, and we just had a major meeting a couple weeks ago. They're hot to trot, to put it mildly. They have these platforms in 19 community colleges across the country. They have not done it with a 4-year yet, and they're hoping will be their first 4-year. So, Sue, you want to talk about where we are with all the articulation agreements?
Yeah, so we're continuing to work on developing the graduate school agreements. You know, what we know is that of our students who are going on to graduate school, having some kind of pathway in place, you know, really helps to kind of formalize that for them and to really set that in motion. And so we recently signed MOUs with Empire State, which provide pathways for students in business, applied psychology, and information technology into their master's degree program. So that was pretty exciting. We're also working with Empire State and SUNY Morrisville on a joint MAT. It's a Master's in Ag Teaching, which is pretty exciting. And we are hopeful that even next year that would be something that would be approved. So fingers crossed, we'll keep that going. But we're continuing to keep the pressure on to finalize these kinds of agreements. Oneonta, we recently made a trip to Oneonta. Oneonta has opened its doors to us, which has been terrific. I think there's some great
I don't play poker well. You're kidding.
We have really great opportunities there in New Albany, which, you know, for our students who largely come from this region, these are great opportunities. Oh, yay.
Okay.
Could
we stop for a minute?
have a surprise.
Oh my.
No
Oh my God! Hi, Fuji.
So I hope nobody's allergic to horses, but I figured rather, can I just go for it?
Yeah. So we'll continue. Part of our presentation though is for 2 of our faculty, and I also want to make sure everybody said hey to Gail in her role as the dean, to talk about the fellowship through the Institute, because you always wanted to know what faculty are up to. So I'd like to turn this over to them right now, if you don't mind.
So, I didn't tell anyone I was bringing the pony this morning. And, and I get super nervous about presenting, so I thought I'd bring my therapy pony with me.
Oh my God.
So what we do with Fuji is we take him into the community, and then obviously he can go inside, but he hasn't actually pooped yet in the diaper. So hopefully he doesn't do this morning. But so we've been to nursing homes, we've been to local preschools, we've been across the street, and actually I'm going to the Ethel Bennett. Yeah, this morning at 10. So that's
very
why
cool.
I just thought I'd bring Fuji over to see you all. So it's just bringing the outside in really. So when we go to the nursing homes, you know, some of them can't go out. So we can bring SUNY Cobleskill to them and tell them about our
Jim, that's not the best view of the
Yeah.
pony. Don't walk behind him.
I was gonna say, I know. Silly boy, he's not
He's paying attention. He's not a kicker.
And so when we go to the high schools too, or the preschools, you know, some of these kids might not be able to touch a pony, or just be able to smell and just be around them. So it's just such a great thing to be able to take him to places.
So first of all, Emma, would you please introduce yourself?
This is lady on the horse.
I'm no good at these meetings. See, I'm Emma. I've worked on the campus for 16 years at the Equestrian Centre.
So Emma is one of those faculty who took advantage of the fellowship projects that we have for each center, right? There are 5 centers. And so we have supported her and Fuji to go to all these places to bring joy and,
Yep.
right? But this is what the center does. And remember, it's not just about economic development, right? But so and how long have we been supporting this?
This is my second year.
Second year.
So we've served about 100 people this year, over 100.
And what have been the reactions?
Oh, they just love it.
Yeah.
When we went to the nursing home, One woman, she just got up out of her chair,
Good.
raced over to Fuji, and she had kids, that she had horses when she was younger. So just bringing back those memories. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of people that don't join in actually would come out and see Fuji. Yeah.
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 It's not
And Jim, you're
dog.
here, so could you just talk about the press release we just had on therapeutic horsemanship as well?
Yes, we put out a release, two releases actually. One release was specifically about the work that we're doing with Stratton VA Hospital in Albany. And that went to press in not only our region, but education places around the country. Talking about the work that Marnie and Lindsay Rose at the VA
Yeah.
are doing together, and the success of the program and how the vets are really reacting tremendously well to it. The other one we put out was about our participation in the PATH conference in Colorado, and Marnie speaking at that, and that went to a select group of press outlets in Colorado, Utah, and all those other states that are around.
And Emma,
Didn't you
Yeah,
just,
I went to the PATH International Conference too, yeah. So
Right.
we actually hooked up 3 of our students with internships while we were there. One got a job, so, yeah, and with the VA, Stratton, one of them signed up to come in the fall.
really?
So-
Because you just got back, right?
Yeah, we got back Monday, yeah, yep. So one of the VAs actually come into SUNY Cobleskill for therapeutic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Fuji, by the way, was mentioned in both releases.
Yes.
I thought so.
Emma, what's the hardest thing about getting a horse or an animal certified that isn't a dog?
Oh, good
Because, you know,
question.
there aren't that many
Yeah.
certifications.
Yeah, there is,
for
he's
therapy.
not certified at all, it's just what we do, so we just desensitized him. Yeah, there's no actual like.
It's funny though, because we could really take that and.
Yeah.
Could we develop a certified?
I think you could come up with criteria of what it needs, because they have to walk upstairs, they have to go across grading.
Oh, this
there's
gold,
all kinds of weird
that's-
things that they wouldn't do in a normal pasture.
That's a
they
good
have to be able
idea.
to do to go
Yeah,
inside.
yeah, we want to take him in an elevator.
I was
just-
Oh.
That's the next plan. I think we might try Canna.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's an out. So if he doesn't go back down, we can still get out of
Right.
the building. Yeah, yeah. So
All right,
we want to
Fuji.
take him to the VA too, because there's another press release coming up. So we want to take Fuji there.
Actually, we're working with the PR guy at the VA about filming the Spectrum News Fuji at the VA and here, and then there are the horsemanship class.
Getting bored.
Yeah.
I think he needs a kerchief.
He said,
like
I'm
the dog."
here, I'm here to be petted, so please pet me, right?
Yeah. If anyone wants to come up and pet him, you're more than welcome to.
Come on, please, anybody?
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I thought it would be a good idea.
What are you apologizing for? I think it's a perfect idea.
My report.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I know. Anybody want to?
Adorable.
I saw like reaction over here, and I was like, what?
Well, this is the beauty of the Institute, because faculty can do these kinds of outreach with students, and you know we're opening the campus boundaries beyond just us, and this is really, and so Emma stepped up to the plate with Fuji, and you're enjoying it too, aren't
Oh,
you?
I love it. Yeah. We go to nursing homes. It's
Yeah.
great.
So I was in a medical staff meeting at the hospital just before this, and Hudson, the new Basset security dog, came to visit.
Oh.
This beats that.
You've got a good story to
Right.
Yes.
Oh my God! And Fuji's size makes it doable,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, a lot of people use minis, which are really like even smaller, but this guy is just so cool.
nippy
He's-
though.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, and he gets nippy when we start feeding him treats, but
Yeah.
he's pretty cool and chill.
So how did?
Full grown, right?
Yeah.
Is-
Yeah. So we have some baseball cards actually. There's some stats on the back.
Oh.
So I'll put some on the table.
Awesome.
Gets some cards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Emma, thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for
Yeah. Sorry.
for bringing. Don't apologize. I think it's the coolest thing going.
Fuji thinks that's a treat.
Any other questions?
I do have a carrot.
Oh,
There's
oh.
more actually. If you need more.
I have some images, Sue asked me to come and show some.
Oh, yeah, you're
images.
next. Yes.
And several of them include Fuji.
Fuji.
actually.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
in action with our program.
Yeah. Right. Where's his coat? It's still chilly out there. Where's your
No,
coat?
He's all right. He's got a big coat on, yeah.
And what about you?
Oh, I've got lots of layers.
Yeah.
It is cold this morning, yeah.
Wow.
Well, I
So-
better not push my luck, because he's
No.
like... Thanks,
Emma,
guys.
thank you. Hey.
Thanks,
Bye, guys. He's like,
All right.
We can...
He can turn there.
there you go.
Thank you.
Bye. That's perfect, Emma.
Diaper.
Perfect. So, because we've been trying to, at the request of the council, for you to hear what faculty are doing. So we thought we'd start with the Institute, and Gail is here too to talk about her work through the Institute. And I think if you're
follow that,
amenable,
I can follow.
every council meeting, we will like to showcase the faculty work. 'Cause,
Bless you.
you know, what Barb is doing with Riverkeeper, and it just goes on. And no matter what department you choose, there's something very exciting going on that's beyond the classroom and the work they're doing. So Gail,
Gail has a PowerPoint, so she can.
let's see what.
A couple pictures fresh from yesterday, which is really neat.
How do we need to take that,
Oh,
like minimize,
Yeah,
no, 'cause I don't need to see my hand, I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
we'd have to minimize that, right?
Right.
And
Do you
Go
mind if I
ahead.
sit here and then
I-
I can hit?
go ahead.
I can
Yeah.
hit, advance. Thank you. Hi.
And for those of you who haven't,
Would you go to the IR, the fourth one up, IRB, Emma Gale, yep, that one.
Dr. Wentworth is our interim dean for the School of Business and Liberal Arts and Sciences, and she's doing quite the job. And prior to that and during that, she's also been one of our very active, successful Institute Fellows.
Yeah, so if you just open that, and then
There.
I'll go quickly through Emma's. I had hers together last August, and so that's still. So that looks good.
Yeah.
May I do
Please.
like the advance?
Yeah.
Which this one? Or, oh.
Want me to do
with
it for
the
you?
with the cursor. Yeah. So this is Emma's mission statement. Traveling Pony Project. I'll read it for you. There's Emma in the barn with Fuji, and this is him. He's got love chalk on his forehead from the young children. I'm not sure which center she was at here, but she goes around to the Head Start, to the local child care center, the Effie Bennett Pro Center, other schools. Just some goofy pictures of him. Now you can see he's indoors there. That looks to me like Whispering Pines preschool. That's an integrated preschool. I can tell by the foyer there. That's probably out back there. So with young children, there's Lila. That was downstairs at the Effie Bennett Poe Center. Downstairs, because my office is in Holmes Hall. At the Effie Bennett Poe. So the children learn to come up and to be gentle and to self-regulate so they don't spook the horse. That's
Cute. Yeah, that's true.
yeah, that's Fuji in the tack room. Some benefits that she has found. And as many of you know, it's difficult to quantify with data social responses, emotional responses. So it's case studies often and just counting how many times a person smiles, sometimes. That's him with his sneakers on. And that allows him to come indoors and his, thank you. So then the next part is mine. And I'll give you a little overview. So what I'm doing is I have an intergenerational program running. It's located at the Cobleskill Campus Child Care Center, which is its own agency, and they're letting us use their space. It's just a Tuesday morning program for persons with older adults, for persons with dementia or other challenges, typically cognitive challenges, integrated with young children, and more this year integrated with many of the departments on campus. You'll see guest lectures, guest projects with Ann Rogan, and various other professors. So let's go to I'll just show you a slideshow about this. So this is, the scope is, it's a multi-agency, multidisciplinary, multi-generational venture promoting inclusion, empathy, and a sense of community. It is a place where you could drop off your loved one if you're the sole caregiver and you want a break for a couple of hours. And we do projects and lesson plans with the participants. And we have a very small group. These are the partners, so if you just keep hitting click, each click, different logos will come up. They should. Oh, that's a click. There we go. These are all partners. Yes, and Bassett Healthcare too. And I have permission from the organizations to use their logos for these kinds of presentations. So they're partners. There's no money that's changed hands. People attend for free, and we even provide a hot lunch for free that's paid for through the Institute. But all of these associations are consultants from me, because it's not my specialty. The students, we involve a lot of students from various majors, and they meet with professionals in the field and plan the activities, and they have training from the Alzheimer's Association about how to interact, what to expect. And this is just one semester. Last semester, they went from the planning, and the same students at the end of May were presenting their research poster. And we have persons interacting with young children. That is Kelly Yakabuchi's little boy.
Aww.
That's Gage. Yep. So I'm finding, what we're finding is a lot of the activities and the materials that young children are fascinated by are working really well for persons with declining cognitive and declining fine motor skill and gross motor skill as well. Sometimes they just want to watch, but again, students, children. The man there is a volunteer from the Eddie Alzheimer's Association, and he comes every week and sings and plays instruments, and we do sing-alongs. And there's us doing a sing-along. So this is something that I'm pretty proud of, is that we're engaging more and more departments across campus. So Lynn Dunn brings her dog a couple of times each semester. These are therapy dogs. And this is really engaging. This gentleman comes every week, and he's got Alzheimer's disease. This is a really perky moment for him. When he saw the dog, it was hands-on, and he said, "We'll take her home." And that was a full sentence, which we don't get out of Bill very often. And you can go next. This is Fuji coming in the classroom. So this is an example. This was, I love this picture because you can see you've got the person, elderly persons, you've got people with his daughters visiting, your college students, and then you get the little kids, and and here comes Fuji, and look at that boy.
That's how we all felt. We were just controlling ourselves.
Yeah.
That's right.
But that was just that says a lot. Again, how do you quantify that? You just say, look at the kid, the way he's sitting, and look at the smile on Hans's face. And this was just last month.
Wow,
so cool. He came. This is his first time coming in. This was yesterday. So we've got animal science, dogs, horses, goats. This young lady is a student volunteer with me, and she's an ag education major, FFA student, and she brought a goat in, and we had goat cheese and books on goats and all that, and Hans and this little boy were interacting. Plant science, Leslie Judd is the new professor. She came and did a horticultural therapy activity with our participants, the kids and the adults engaged in that. On the left, this was a nutrition lesson that we did that Ann Rogan developed with a student. All the students have to contact a professor, design a lesson plan, get them involved. On the right is Jack Rivertuso, computer science. He brought an old computer with guts, and they were looking at it.
So cool.
Yeah. Just they're outside watching the children play or playing with them. And we end each morning with a hot lunch that the center provides, and we reimburse through the Institute. And that is a key piece of it, is sitting together like a family and talking about how the morning went. The kids don't eat with us, but these are my next steps.
Wow.
It's hard to get a sustainable program going. I need more participants. So Eric, if you have people to send my way, I need more families to get involved. And I wrote a letter of support to the Office of the Aging as they applied for an age-friendly grant. It's a big grant to become an age-friendly county.
Gail has done this completely on her own, obviously with the support of the college and the Institute, but she's taking this to new heights, and it's really cool to see how you're engaging the faculty from all across campus and the importance of that. You've got that effort, you've seen what Emma's done. The other effort that we're very excited about, we just found out, is that Albany Law has been on campus, and because We funded a study that they did that very few law schools have done, what is going on in rural America with law. And the lawyers and the need for lawyers in rural America to keep moving, the economy and the community forward. It was so well received, it's a national study, that New York State has just constituted the New York Bar Association has just put together a task force for law in rural America because of our work and the work of Albany Law with us. So as Gail is going this direction, Albany Law is going a different direction with Emma going, and you haven't even heard, there's like how many more projects that we're...
I don't know.
I think
there's
There's
Sue-
another, probably half a dozen.
Another half a dozen.
Yeah.
And they're all having this kind of impact. So we thought you would enjoy hearing what the faculty are doing, again, what we call beyond the classroom. So, Gail, any parting words for us with this, or any, questions for Gail at this point? It's
I have
pretty
parting
cool.
words. 2 weeks from yesterday is our last day. We end before finals and all that. But so Dave Ionesco is a chef, so we're bringing in culinary. And he and his students, this is one of their projects, they're sort of like a Thanksgiving meal for us, a holiday meal. And my student interviewed all the participants and asked what their favorite foods were for Thanksgiving and their traditions, brought it back to Dave and his students. They're shopping and planning a menu.
No.
And we have guests, the professors that volunteered, we invited them to come for lunch with us, and that will be in 2 weeks. And so that's how we're ending it. So another department get involved. So I really appreciate my colleagues' participation in it too.
That's wonderful.
So thank you.
And maybe you
Gail,
could
thank you.
mention the course that's been developed too,
Oh.
because that is, it's kind of
It's an outcome of this,
it's an
really.
outcome of this. Yeah.
So I got a bunch of faculty together from both sides of the road, and we're piloting a new class in spring, and it's called Well-Being, the Value of Animals, Plants, and the Arts. And it is a joint effort with canine, equine, psychology, and early childhood. 4 professors. I'm sort of stepping out now that I'm in a different role, but anyway, and they're going to do 4 or 5 different modules throughout the semester, focusing on a certain vulnerable population, like veterans with PTSD or young children with special needs or persons with dementia. And they're going to learn about that problem, learn about modalities to help work with those people, plan an activity. One will be equine, one will be canine, one will be music, and one will be, I can't remember right now, the arts, yeah. And then actually go to a program, implement it, come back, reflect on how well it went, what they learned, and do a literature review on their topics.
And this is while she's also acting as the dean for the school.
Yeah, but it's exciting. It's all great,
Yeah.
great cooperation and people that are excited.
Right.
And we have 3 or 4 times the number of students that we can handle in the class that
Oh,
want to
wow.
take it. So it's a
That's
small class, but
Right.
still. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Hey,
You're
all right.
welcome.
Thanks. Yeah. So, obviously, there's a lot going on. Sue, was there anything else we wanted to add before we turn it over to Barb? Because I know, John, when you do your foundation update, why don't you do the advancement piece there, okay? When that comes.
Yeah, I just want to say middle states.
Yeah, that's the other.
It's underway.
Thanks, Gail.
Our middle states self-study, which will have a campus visit in either fall 21 or spring 22. We're in the process of putting that together now. We have a couple of council members, thank you, on the committee. But the other thing is we were approved formally now for a substantive change, which permits us to offer our first program online. So that program is the Farm and Food Entrepreneurship Certificate, which has been at SUNY, I think awaiting this final piece, and I forwarded that to SUNY, so now we're waiting for that final approval. So that's great.
This is a very big deal. One more
more.
and then one more program
Supply
proposal.
chain management.
And then once that happens and approved, we're done with substantive change that we are now can go into the online business. We also have the Sarah, explain what the
Right, we
Sarah.
have there's a reciprocal agreement through SUNY with other states so that we can offer online courses and programs out of state. So we are a member of that now as well. So we're moving forward in the online world.
And we're doing it judiciously, and we're building the scaffolding of that. Bonnie just shared with me, Barb, the SUNY Readiness Online template. So we've been waiting for SUNY. They don't seem
They
to.
say they're coming,
They're
but-
coming, but
I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
I know.
so Barb and the faculty have said, why don't we try to look at it ourselves and start building it ourselves. So Bonnie found the template, and we're going to bring a task force together to make sure we know that we can sustain this is what's critical. So that concludes our report. I don't know if there's any other questions at this time. Good, thanks.
Good. Okay, Barb, faculty report.
Well, welcome, everybody. Thank you for having me. I guess we do academic years. This time next year, there will be another governance leader elect.
No.
That's what we do. We're term limited. I'm sure I'll find something else to do. I don't think I'll be idle. We're term limited to 4 years, 2 consecutive terms of 2 years. That next person, whoever that might be, would take effect in January. The election is held in October. That gives us time as faculty to tailor our spring schedule to whatever governance opportunities are there. And so January would be that new person's start date. My plan is to, after the election, allow that person to shadow me. So Eric, if we get to that point in the season, if we could offer an invitation to that person as well, so that they could sit here and see how this all goes before they're in the hot seat, so to speak. One of the items that I had on the list is something that Marion shared, in that the Fiscal Affairs Strategic Planning Committee had decided, due to, I'd say, a sense of impatience after 12 years of asking, to actually go ahead with their own online readiness assessment. And so that is ongoing. Thank you, Bonnie, for getting the template together. I would expect, knowing how this committee works, that by December we will have an idea of what our largest deficits are, and then we'll be able to share that both with the administration and faculty and the college council, if you'd like to hear. But most likely a final report on what is will be after the January break. So a lot of the work that we can do as faculty, we can kind of churn through in large blocks of time over break when we're not teaching. So that would be my best guess as to when I could bring you that report. We don't think there's anything super scary on that list. We have had kind of our blinders off about online for quite a while. I think the faculty are pretty united as to what we want to offer with our online offerings, the quality of what we're looking for, and I think applied learning is a fundamental and #1 hat that we hang all of what we do on, and so we want to make sure that that is included in anything that's remotely online. Let me see, the other things that I had to bring you were something that I thought Marion might mention, but we are moving along with the Campus Governance Committee that will be equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion. The faculty were presented the final version of how that committee will be constituted, that it will be a governance committee. We will seek nominations from the community, the president and the leaders of the committee and within the administration dealing with these areas would then solicit invitations to those individuals. And the scope of this committee, as has been presented here before, will be more than just faculty. So we'll deal with faculty, community members, students, representatives from all factions of our campus, including CAS. So these are pieces that are really critical to how we'll move forward in the future.
Barb,
The timeline for that? Go ahead.
Barb's leadership in this is second to none, and how it also filtered through to the entire SUNY Faculty Senate system. So it's more fitting. Okay, good. You can go there. But it's more fitting that you brought it up, because what she's doing is expanding governance because of inclusion to the entire community. This is a critically big deal. She's not going to tell you that. I am. Because it's saying to the faculty, give up control and allow the entire campus governance to be a part of it. So I had to say
I thought that
that.
was funny. I give up control.
Yeah,
before
blah,
I
blah,
went
blah, blah,
out.
blah. So, but,
Thank you, Mary Ann.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor the point, but the inclusion part is what really got me. The committee chair is Abby Perkins, and she says, here on this campus, the voting body is really the faculty. It's any UUP represented individuals. Now that is both the academic and the professional group, but that is our voting body. That is the way our Constitution has been written here, our faculty bylaws for many, many years. We do not ask the other, we do have select areas where we ask for input from the rest of the campus community, but they don't have a large block of a vote. And that includes part-timers, for example. So about 50% of our classes are taught by part-timers, thereabouts. And they're not really, unless they are a permanent part-timer, they're really not part of our voting block. So inclusion is inclusion, and you don't know what you get with inclusion, but we'll find out. So this committee will go, the committee constitution will go up for a final vote in January, and then it will be written into our bylaws immediately. And the committee still exists as an action group right now to constitute themselves as they see fit. There'll be a little jiggering, I expect, in January when this becomes official. And from the feedback from the faculty so far has been enormously supportive. I think only a few sticking points that have not been, I think, major. Given that, at SUNY, there were several resolutions that came out of their Equity, Inclusion, and Diversity Committee, which is the state parallel of our campus body. And including in that was that, so we're just a little ahead of the curve at Cobleskill style, Marion, establishment of standing campus Senate EID committees, and that it is a resolution from the body, which did pass, that each campus president, and the campus governance structure on all of the state-operated campuses should consider the establishment of a committee that we have already been in process to establish. In addition, the Equity, Inclusion, and Diversity Committee's resolution maintaining a welcoming, inclusive, and safe campus environment was passed as well, and we will see what that turns into as it filters down through the system. There is a larger issue at all state-operated campuses, including the community colleges, so I'll just put those in there as well, so all 64 campuses, in that there is a large block of library material from a company called Elsevier that we all pay for. We pay for as a block. Elsevier's contract is up with SUNY at the end of December. Right now, per student at SUNY, we pay $21 per student per year for access to Elsevier. CUNY just went through a renegotiation with Elsevier and was able to bring that cost down to $8 per student. Elsevier feels like it got dinged on the CUNY one and wants to raise our $21 to $30. And so there is a pretty high-powered negotiating team working with Elsevier. And what has happened is Faculty Senate got involved with all the campus governances and said, listen, let's talk about this behind closed doors, and then let's come out in public, like today, and say, we as faculty support the negotiating team to try to reduce the cost of this very expensive educational material. We cannot do without this material, but we will if that's what it takes to negotiate a better price. In addition, because we're faculty, we added a little twist on it and said, we want the $8 that CUNY got, and we will forego using Elsevier once the contract is up if we need to while negotiations continue. But we want that $13 a student to come back to library services on our campuses.
Perfect.
Wow. We'll see if it happens. But that's what we did. There were a few others that are specific to other campuses. Downstate Medical Center had a problem where there were two individuals that were in a hierarchical detente, and then one decided to accuse the other of research misconduct, which is a very, very big flag to throw. And it turned out it was unmerited, unwarranted. So now we are supporting tighter separations between who sits on a research misconduct board and who actually participates in that research program. So those are some other things that happened there. And if I go back to what we do here on campus, we did talk about strategic planning and fiscal affairs when it came to the online readiness task force. Also, strategic planning in conjunction with our academic personnel policies committee is working on an endowed professorship guideline, working eventually with John's office and Marion. Oh, I had it here. We are in the throes of taking the two mindsets of the two committees and putting them together to create one endowed professorship model that then we can bring back to the cabinet. And then hopefully from there we will continue to recruit money to bring more endowed professorships.
We have two right now. We have one in each school. And we've asked the faculty if they could build the models so that when more come in, we can just use that template to get the faculty identified.
And we're a little different again. Not quite the SUNY model,
Nope.
Not quite the research university model. We're
Right.
somewhere in between. And we're okay with that. We
Right.
like it that way.
Right.
Because we are a tech sector, we don't have to quite be the liberal artsy college and we don't have to be the university center.
Well done.
So I think that's all for now. I'll save some of the other tidbits for the
Right.
next meeting.
I apologize. Thank you, Barb. I meant to ask Bonnie to do an enrollment management update as well. So, but just to say, the faculty are taking, well, they always do, the work we're doing seriously with strategic planning, and everything is being tied back to that, which is making it easy for, where's Wendy, to help with the budget, as well as what John needs to do to raise money, and you'll hear what he's up to in a minute. So thank you.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bonnie, sorry I missed
And if
you.
there's any questions, please feel free.
So, this will be the more sobering part
Yeah.
of our festivities
Yeah.
this morning, I'm afraid.
It usually is.
Yes, please. SUNY in general is seeing a decline in applications, has been seeing an overall decline in applications for the last 9 years or so. The campuses that seem to be doing best are largely those that have robust online programs, hence our push in that direction. What I passed out has the application numbers for spring 2020 and fall 2020. We're a little bit down for spring, we're a little bit more than that down for fall. And you can see beneath that, beneath the table, that SUNY is down in every area. On the more positive side of things, we had an open house on Saturday, the second of 2 fall open houses, and we had tremendous numbers this year. Compared to the prior years. Just got the comments and from participants, and they were overwhelmingly positive. I think we've, in cooperation with student life and academic affairs, come up with a model that's working well for open houses. I've mentioned before, we're aggressively recruiting out of state. Gus MacGyver, who's in charge of recruitment, is traveling all over the country. He's been in Texas and California and Colorado, and many other states. We have a New England recruiter. So we're trying very hard to attract out-of-state students, both because of the declining population in New York State, and because out-of-state students pay an additional $10,000 in tuition. As Wendy would tell you, they're 9% of our student body and 20% of our revenue currently. So the more out-of-state students we can attract, the better our bottom line will be. The admissions staff is working incredibly hard to turn over every rock and try and recruit students and drive applications. You can see at the bottom, just since September 1st, they've been at 435 events across the state and the country. These are college fairs, high school visits, national conferences, statewide conferences. they've completely revamped the way that they do visits. It used to be before this year that they kind of had a canned program that every student who came to visit would go through. Now they ask the student and their family, what is it that you want to see? What is it that you want to do on campus? And we dedicate a staff person and or a student ambassador to spend the time making sure that they see exactly what they want. It ends up with an interview with an admissions counselor and a personalized t-shirt based on the student's interests. So we're really trying to stand out as different from other institutions. Bus trips are another way we try and show off the campus, and there have been 19 since September 1st, and over 500 prospective students have come. So we're pulling out all the stops, trying to do everything that we can, and hoping for the best.
So, at the ACT conference, and I'll report on that, one of the sessions was about Gen Zs, incoming students, and my old person takeaway is they're a very different animal.
Very different animal.
And we need to learn how to approach them, what's important, how to reach them, things like that. So I know we're doing this, but anything we can read about them, we should, and try to incorporate it into our recruitment process.
Actually, we're very well positioned. Karina Benninger, who's the Associate Director of Admissions, is an expert on Gen Z, who throughout SUNY, is invited to speak about Gen Z, and she's a growth hacker, new term for me that I had to learn about, meaning that she manages all of our social media and Google ads and constantly is changing it up based on the return on investment and the reaction received to what we're putting out there. So we have a really good team working on it, and we've recently kind of merged the marketing portion of communications and marketing into admissions. So we have more of a focus by our media specialist and our webmaster and our writer on strategies that will drive admissions. So more to come.
Great.
We call ourselves the dinosaurs as we're allowing the youngins to run the admissions operation, right?
Yeah.
Hey, if
But
it
those of
works.
us in the 60s generation who went to college, and then I have a feeling that the people at the colleges thought the same about us. You know?
I think
yeah.
it's actually very similar.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think 50s to 60s, what a dramatic change that
No,
was.
it really
Gen
was.
Z is
Right.
not Gen X, and it's not the millennials. They are very,
Very different.
But if
They do
Very.
not want extras. They
No.
want everything a la carte.
Right. They don't want the
They
rock
don't want a
walls
climbing
and the.
wall. They
right,
don't want
right.
lobster in the dorms. They want, give
Right.
me what I want and don't give me more. Very good.
So,
it must be nice.
It's an odd
Right.
sensation because you don't necessarily know it. But they'll
And-
tell you again.
there's also a budget memo that will be going out under Wendy's pen that we will make sure the council gets when it goes to the community in terms of next steps with enrollment and budget. We still have a shortfall that we're trying to close the gap. And Wendy, you are constituting a committee.
We started this group actually last year, called it Workforce Strategies, just to try to think about things we could be doing. As you know, 80 to 85% of our budget is people. And so continuing to cut just supplies is not going to help solve the budget gap. And so it started off as that, we had some good ideas, and then I asked the president if we could expand that to be more of an overall budget committee, because in our discussions, we kept talking about things like, well, how are we gonna generate revenue? How are we gonna rethink, we're not talking about total strategy, but, how do we rethink the financial aspects of what we do? So she thankfully agreed. And so representation from all across the campus, including members of NAC, so the Health Governance representation. And we'll be kicking that off probably next week or so. We'll bring them out to them to invite them to participate. It's mostly the same members, we just added a few people.
It's to advise Wendy moving forward rather than, because FASP, and I've said this to FASP, is a terrific resource for us and doing good work as a governance committee. So this is dovetailing in what Wendy's sharing, and FASP is on many of our strategic committees as representatives, which is important. So to bring everybody to the table and have more good thinking rather than not is what we like to do.
Yes.
So speaking of money.
Speaking of money,
Yes.
as much as we're focused on Gen Z, those of us down in advancement, i.e. development, i.e. fundraising, focused on the other end of the spectrum. So we love the greatest generation. It truly is the greatest generation. And okay boomer is okay with me. But it's been a great start to the academic year. And we have, I'm going to ask Susan to maybe speak on the numbers in a few minutes. I think that's what we had decided yesterday, perhaps, on some of the higher level numbers. But I'll kind of give you a prelude to that, and that is just over the last few weeks we've had over $500,000 in commitments to the institution, and some of those aren't even reflected in our totals, which Susan will talk about in a minute, but very exciting stuff. We're focusing very much on plan giving and expanding that program and getting out the door. In fact, Beth Ogeron, who has just hit the ground running like you can't even believe, have a meeting today to speak with an alumnus who is not only class of 64, but also class of 88, the first bachelor's class here on campus. And we'll be providing a check to us today for a 5-figure gift, and is seriously looking at a 6-figure, potentially 7-figure gift to the institution. And this is a new relationship. So this is what we talk about as we're starting to establish these new relationships, especially with respect to plan giving. That's going to be the future of the college. So again, just a little foreshadowing for Susan's report, but we've also had the great pleasure of welcoming Lynn Berger to our team. I think she was in the air with a parachute, and she already had everything out. She was hitting targets as she was in the air across campus, reaching out. She's going to be overseeing corporate and foundation relations, and she's been meeting with folks on campus to really target high-level corporate partnerships. And this is an area that we haven't really focused on from an advancement perspective before. We've done a good job within pockets across the college, but not from an advancement function. So what we're trying to do is serve as the clearinghouse for all things corporate and foundation, private foundation relationships. The annual fund, great success there. In fact, we just awarded 15 different projects across campus, over $26,000 from last year's annual fund. And this is significant because it's the first time that the college community, or what we call the One Kobe community, has been able to apply for funds. And it can be student groups, it can be faculty development, it can be a wide range of initiatives across campus. And what makes this so exciting is that it's a way to foster support on campus, to garner that support, because people feel as though they're giving to projects that really are impactful to them. If I give a gift to the annual fund and I can see the fruits of that gift, I think my friends and my colleagues are going to start to say, hey, we'd like to get on board. In fact, just last night, we had a dinner to acknowledge some of our One Kobe, and you'll see some of the pins around the room. The president is sporting. I have my other one on today, Sue, and you can see, there you go. Loving it. This is something new that we're trying to institute on campus to generate that that inclusiveness of, yes, we are family, and if you give, it's going to help you as well, and it's going to help the college to grow and our students to grow.
I also say it's competition.
And there's a little
Yes,
of that.
there's friendliness there too, but we can compete. There's different colors of these that you can get based on your level of giving. And so when somebody sees that you've upped your color, they'll be like, oh.
And they don't, so there's a new one every year. So there's a new, this year we're saying it's hip to be square because it's square, so you can't have last year's one Kobe pin. That's, the cool kids are wearing the square ones this year. And then next year will be a different one. But they don't go bad because we actually have an acrylic display where you can display them on your desk year after year so that people can see that continuous.
By the way, the chancellor saw mine, and I told her what it was, and all the other presidents were like, "Oh, that's really cool." She was very impressed. So.
I feel especially bad I didn't wear mine.
Yeah.
Again, that competition, I love it. And I will point out that everyone around the room is wearing gold, which is the highest level. So that's kudos and thank you. But it's very exciting because we had 15 great projects, and that report is in your packet of all the different recipients. And we'll be opening it up again in January so that the folks across campus can apply. We think the more the word gets out, the more these applications are going to grow and grow and grow, and it's going to become more selective, which makes it more difficult. We're hoping that the funding increases as well so that we can have more money to give out. So stay tuned on that. With that, our annual fund is going full throttle. We had a business appeal. Area businesses, capital region businesses received an appeal over the last 2 weeks, reaching out to over 200 businesses. We have our general appeal, which will be going out next week, the next 2 weeks by Thanksgiving, and that will reach over 2,000 individuals in different constituencies. So we're excited about that, and that will be followed up by a video message by the president, not only thanking folks for their support, but also highlighting some of the key initiatives across campus to hopefully inspire folks to give to us. Our development officers are engaged in the Plus Delta training. They'll be embarking on their 3rd month of the training in a 10-month series. They're traveling to Boston to do this, and they're brushing elbows with, and this is a small cohort. These cohorts are not big. This is not a room full of 100 people. This is about 11 if memory serves. And they're brushing elbows with MIT and Harvard, as well as Bentley College. So these are very high-end schools. I just attended the Plus Delta conference in Philadelphia, and this is the model that the major institutions are taking across the country. And it was very exciting to see SUNY Cobleskill at the table with the Cornells and the NC States and the Boston universities, and it was very much rewarding to see that our two folks are really learning the best way to approach the development realm. And our Blackbaud Razor's Edge is going to be implemented by the most recent date that I just received is February 28th of 2020. So our new database system will be complete before the end of the first quarter of 2020, and this will allow us the tools necessary to be successful moving forward. So that when I have a meeting, or Beth has a meeting, or Lynn has a meeting, 10 years down the road, we actually have documentation of this meeting and what was important associated with that meeting. So these are things that every good development shop has. We have not had them. We will have them. It's almost like a puzzle. Everybody does a puzzle. They do the outside of the puzzle first with all the square edges. We're doing the middle of the puzzle as well as the outside of the puzzle, but it's all starting to become clear now. So stay tuned. It's going to be a beautiful picture when it's done. And finally, the Alumni Association. I've been having meetings with the Alumni Association board members to establish common mission, vision, and goals for the Alumni Association. We're really working very hard together. They've expressed a sincere interest to work together with President Terenzio and myself to make sure that we're working in lockstep to enhance the alumni relationship moving forward, making sure that our alumni are receiving high-level touch points, and at the same time to make sure that they're working right alongside of us with the foundation to make sure that we have common goals so that we're not being duplicative in what we're trying to offer and really enhance the total lifetime Kobe experience. So stay tuned on that. We'll have some great things to share there. And I think that's it for my report.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Susan, the money report?
The money report. I really, there's a lot of detail in this report, but I think the main thrust would be that the year-to-date revenue that John and his staff have been able to acknowledge totals $1.1 million. It's commendable. Several donors, several new donors. As someone who attended the luncheon back in September, it was a great job. An opportunity, kind of the equivalent of the one Kobe pin. And you looked around the room and went, it's good to see these people here. It's really good. And the students were very, very conversational, very anxious to talk with Marion about what she would ask them. And it's all good.
Great. Any questions for John or Susan? No? Thank you. Chair's report. If I may, I'd like to share with you the Association of Council Members and College Trustees Conference, October 18th and 20th. And previously, I had really only gone up for the scholarship award lunch on Saturday, which was really was and still is a wonderful recognition of some exceptional students. And in the packet are the bios of the students who have won. But I went for the whole conference this time, and if any of you can attend the whole thing for part of it, it's very rich, and not only the programs, but talking to people between the programs, both the presenters, faculty, and the other council members. Friday night there was a cocktail reception, and I wound up talking with the husband of a council member from Long Island. And he said, well, we're going to skip out. My wife's never been to the Hall of Fame. It was in Cooperstown. And I haven't been there in 10 years. And, oh, that's nice. That's very good. And he just casually drops that his cousin is Mariano Rivera. I said, oh, you're going to go look at the plaque? And he said, yeah, I want to take a selfie in front of it and send it to Mariano. So they went, they did that, so that's kind of the cool stuff that you stumble on there. The program started with an ACT board meeting. This is really something new that the current ACT chair, Vita DeMarchi, wanted to create an actual board of directors. The purpose is to set agenda for 2020. They are also requesting that an ACT member be appointed a formal trustee of the SUNY board. Legislative action would be required for this. ACT hosts a breakfast at the State of the SUNY address. The format has changed, so that's being rethought. And she proposed that a new council member summit be developed following appointments, if there ever are appointments, and pushing that to happen. So it was short but an interesting meeting. The programs were very varied. There was a program on campus construction, and Sustainability by Robert Halen, Senior Vice Chancellor for Capital Facilities and General Manager of the SUNY Construction Fund. The numbers are amazing. SUNY system has 110.3 million square feet of space, over 2,900 buildings. The average age is 49 years. This represents 40% of all New York State assets, and this investment supports 1.4 million students. The state capital budget fund is $15 billion, which is 7% of the entire state budget. 10% of that 15 is for higher education. And here's something very concerning. 2019 SUNY maintenance budget is $550 million, and it's been that amount for a number of years. The annual rate of asset decay is $800 to $900 million. So something's not going to work with that. And this is just maintain, it's not new projects, not new building. They talked about the sustainability efforts, reduce the carbon footprint. New York State goal is 60% carbon free, 28% renewable energy. The gentleman mentioned over, I forget what the period of time was, gross square footage of SUNY properties increased 28%, while energy used increased only 2%. So, and his bottom line is need advocacy for SUNY capital funding.
The only larger state agency is Department of Corrections.
Ah.
So think of that.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a little
that's
yin
something
and
wrong with that, huh? There was an ACT business meeting, which is separate from the board, and this is usually how things are conducted. Vita has served several terms as chair. She declined to continue. Patricia Hill Williams, who's council chair at Farmingdale State College, was elected ACT president. She was pretty dynamic, and I think she'll lead us very well. It was also reported, and this is important, statewide councils have 261 seats total. Of these, there are 51 vacancies, 129 members' terms expiring, 22 are past expiring, and of that number, 59 are within term. 77% of council seats need action. And that came up over all 3 days and what's going on. The Gen Z program, very interesting. Look into student life. Austin Ostro, Student Assembly President and SUNY Board Member, moderated. Gen Z's lifetime they never were alive when there wasn't the internet. Downstate students are coming upstate. They're not always welcomed upstate. This is something we've talked about. They find college life less agile than the students expected it to be. Need to work on diversity, acceptance, and appreciation of others. Student focus is how will college help me get a job? Mental health issues, as Marion mentioned, exceeded availability of resources with a 30% spike. Mentioned the Chancellor's Prodigy Initiative, system-wide recruitment of 1,000 new faculty, minorities and women in STEM fields over the next 10 years. We had a program on searches, presidential searches. There are currently 12 presidential searches, 8 colleges, 4 community colleges. One of the Chancellor's top priorities, and I forget her name, the new president of
Merrill
SUNY,
Tisch.
No, SUNY Oneonta.
Oh, Barbara Morris.
Was one of the panelists, and they asked, well, what was your experience? Interesting, SUNY Oneonta had an open search where candidates were known. Most of the searches are closed searches. And her opinion was that references were more important than the actual interviews, and that values at a campus match the individual is as important as it being a good school. So from the candidate's perspective, it was kind of very interesting. Had a program on ACT, past, present, and future. Interesting, didn't know this. ACT was formed in 1970 by Governor Nelson Rockefeller. Now, this may be possibly good stuff. The Council Appointments Office recently moved from the Governor's Office to the Office of General Services under Commissioner Rowan DeSisto. And also the SUNY Council is now the Governor's Council. So the feeling in the room was this might help move council appointments ahead. But the governor wants to look at every single appointment. The chancellor came and spoke with us. She wants presidents to stay 10 years. We want longer than that. The average national tenure is 4 years for presidents. Talked about Prodigy. The goal is faculty diversity, STEM focus, and culture change. And SUNY Achieve, another program, proposes to boost enrollment, re-enrolling students to complete degrees if they dropped out, SUNY Online, also for adult learners, Student Emergency Fund, Open SUNY. Now, I think I left something important out. There was something. Back on the Gen Z, diversity is really, really important. And one of the speakers said, diversity is invited to the dance, but inclusion, even more important, is being asked to dance. And coupling with students not always feeling welcome, that was a very important issue. Last presentation was Travis Prulix, who's a relatively new Associate Vice Chancellor for Government Affairs and Marketing. And the advocacy strategy is to develop external advocacy coalition building and internal coalition building. And I asked, he listed all the, the agencies that he was building, wants to build coalition with. And I asked him, well, is SUNY willing to offer reciprocal advocacy support? You get these other agencies outside of education to support your agenda, you're willing to support. And I mentioned the old Schoharie Four Partners, and those of you who remember that was pretty effective in our little area while it lasted. I also noted the importance of SUNY in local economic development. I mentioned the Institute for Rural Vitality. He wasn't aware of this.
He's new.
He's new.
Right.
He's new.
Yeah.
He'll learn. And then the other interesting thing, when he was talking to government coalitions, he said he was meeting with other commissioners, and guess what commissioner wasn't on the list? Ag and Markets. So I raised my hand. He was not happy I was sitting in the Ag and Markets. And he said, well, why is that important? I just did a little elevator speech. And he did say, he said, maybe you and I can talk afterwards. So we actually talked briefly. He said, can you call me next week? I did. We had about a 20-minute conversation when I tried to explain why ag is so important to the SUNY agenda, to economic development, to life. And he said, oh. And he said, I'd like to talk to you again. He hasn't called back yet. But everything we heard today, this guy needs to know. He really needs to know. He's government affairs and marketing. And we've got a story to tell, and we've got people in government we need to impress. So I think there's a real opportunity with it. He's very smart, as Marion said, really new, few months, And he does have a lot to learn, and maybe we can even have him out.
We're only 40 miles from where he's.
Right.
That's the beauty of this.
Right.
We're so close to the
I'll pick them up on my way to work.
Right. And mark your calendar, the ACT 2020 conference, I don't have a date yet. It's at Turning Stone. So we can, College Council can fund a gambling junket. We'll donate the money to our new fundraiser, yeah. Happy to answer any questions on that. Again, if you can come up for part or all of it, it really is a good use of their time. Council meeting schedule, we have been operating with 6 meetings a year. And I also wanted to ask the council, this is a good time. Do we like the format? Do we like the agenda? Is there something else we would like to do? I think hearing the faculty is wonderful. This is our meeting, so any changes, keep going, same number of meetings, add, subtract. What's your pleasure?
I'm happy with 6 meetings. I think it keeps us informed and gives us a chance to bring back information from the community. And I really like having the opportunity both to go visit facilities on the campus and to have people as today come to see us.
Only if they bring their horse.
Or a dog.
Hey, any other suggestions? We can revisit this at any time. Okay, that's how we'll operate. Council member reports, comments. Anybody have anything to report?
I have something. I was approached by the local Cobleskill High School. Since they have no bowling center anymore, and they do have a bowling team, they approached my business to ask them to come there. I currently have Schoharie School, Middleburg School, and Vernox School knocking on the door, so I really don't have any room. I managed to give them a couple hours on a Tuesday so they could at least practice, so they could start their program.
Mm-hmm.
But I did mention to the coach that there's a place very close to them that I think has 4 lanes, if they're still in operation.
No, they're gone.
Okay, well, I guess that ends that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's the age. They're not replacing the parts anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just thought, that would give them a place to practice and be good for the community to let them know you're helping. But if there's not the opportunity, that's
Okay. I'll pass that on to Seek, maybe I want to help develop a bowling alley.
Not here.
Not here.
No.
How about in the hotel? Good, thanks, Rich. Any other report? So we do have, under new business, actions to take. There have been proposals to approve recommendations to add people to the various advisory boards that were in the listed in the agenda. Can we do this as a group, or do we need to do?
It's up to you guys. I mean, you all saw the resumes.
Resumes are all attached.
It's up to you. What do you? Does it matter? Sue or Irene?
It would only. You mean just
all the
You
whole
need to
slate?
approve all
The whole
appointments.
slate.
Typically done one at a time.
I would say one at a time.
Okay.
What if one is denied?
Okay, I'll look for a motion to approve recommendations to the Fisheries, Wildlife, Environmental Science Advisory Board, Daniel Stitch and Michael Scavone.
I'll make that one.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion to approve proposed recommendation of Business and IT Advisory Board. Michael Izdebski, I practiced this. I want you to know. Heather Mellette.
Someone.
Okay, second? Okay, discussion? All in favor? Aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval for proposed recommendation to Ag Engineering Advisory Board, Stephen McCagg.
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor? Aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Last one, approval of proposed recommendation to Ag Business Advisory Board, Megan Clancy and Anna Richards.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion. All in favor? Aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, very
That's
good.
easy.
Very good.
Is there any other business to bring before the council?
I'd like to commend you for conducting a very businesslike and friendly meeting, and you've done well.
Well,
We look forward
thank
to
you.
more.
Don't expect another pony.
Oh, wait. We'll talk.
We worked that out. I wanted to make an impression. I knew about that. All right, a motion to adjourn.
Someone?
Okay, second, discussion, all in favor? Aye, please.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Barb.
Bye, Barb.
Bye, Barb.
Bye, Barb.
That was a workout.
Yeah. Well done.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Yeah.